Okay, I believe we're live then. Let me just get the other screen up. And of course, I can't see that either. So can somebody take responsibility for the YouTube comments, if possible, until I work that out? Yes, so hello, everyone. This is our Ascension Energy Forecast for the week. And we are going to be starting in a few minutes. So I just wanted to give you an overview of what we're covering so you know why to hang around. So this is time for you guys to kind of tune into your future and to learn what ascension energies are new and how to work with them so that you can achieve the future that you actually want in your life. So we're going to spend about 30 minutes live and sharing an ascension update on what sort of new energies there are, then a soul lesson that we can work on, some challenges and strengths that we have to get us through the soul lesson. After that, we say goodbye to the YouTube live and we switch back to Zoom, where we then do a mastermind for 30 minutes with those that are on with Zoom. So if you want to join us on this mastermind each week, then do sign up on Eventbrite to get a ticket, and then you can join us on Zoom where you're just sort of silent at this point, but then we switch you all on in 30 minutes time. So we're here every Monday at 8 p.m. GMT time. And again, I'm going to ask the Zoom attendees, because we'll be asking questions later, to start thinking about every time we mention something to do with this, the ascension energies or the soul lesson. We're going to be asking you after this in the mastermind, like, what are the challenges that you have in integrating that into your practice, into your life, or into your business? So get your notepads out and get a pen ready so that you can start thinking about these questions. Because we know that when we ask questions and we think about them, we expand our consciousness. And that's what we're all about, is helping each other and uplifting everybody to the same levels. I'm just going to hand off to Alicia for the moment. And I'm going to check my settings.
All right. Thank you. All right. So hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Galactic Sisters Ascension Energy Forecast. As always, we're really excited to be with everyone here on Zoom and everyone watching on YouTube, whether you're live or on the replay. So if you're connecting with us for the first time, my name is Alicia with my mom, Eva, and we're co-creatresses of Crystalline Ascension with our Galactic sister, Trudy, White Star Soul Guidance. So again, if you're catching the live on YouTube or here on Zoom, please do say hello and share your New Earth mission in the comments or in the chat. We're always curious to know what everyone's New Earth mission really is. And a warm welcome to those who are watching the replay. You can hashtag replay, so then that way we can circle back around later and say hello to you as well. We again invite you to join us each Monday, and we're going to be sharing the quantum 5D ingredients available so that you can connect to these energies and embodying them and try them on for size. And then we're going to discuss the priority 5D soul lesson of the week, the challenges we are facing, and the strengths that we can draw on. We're facilitating this to basically accelerate the ascension path for those interested in being a thought leader or a pioneer of New Earth through collaboration. All right.
Excellent. Yeah, YouTube set up. I can see the comments now so I can reply to people. So guys, do ask questions, because we want you to understand, or at least not so much understand, but it's what we're describing is quantum energies, and sometimes the words we use might not completely resonate. So ask questions so we can actually get to understand as deeply as possible what we're speaking about. So our ascension energy that we wanted to talk about this week is actually to do with a template, a new template that's coming on for the planet, for the iron. Now that sounds a bit odd, but if you were listening to us a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the ascension particle, I think before Christmas, and how we were kind of guided to bring this new particle into the atmosphere, which was kind of like an oxygen particle. And in part of that process that we undertook to integrate that particle, what we discovered was the Iron Age was relevant. And we kind of assumed at the time that it was to do with when man was given iron tools. And we kind of didn't really understand it beyond that point, but we assumed that somehow some sort of trade was done, that we were given iron tools in exchange for giving up this ascension particle, and that the iron as a gift then was the tools we were using. But actually what we've been learning is it wasn't just the iron tools, it was the whole iron infrastructure of the planet, which was quite an interesting kind of flip, really, wasn't it, when we realized this? And it kind of came about because we were feeling quite anemic and tired, and we were trying to work out what the iron relationship was. So today's energy update is going to be about that iron template and what we've been noticing. So the first thing I wanted to share was that this template came from Shambhala. So Ava's probably the best person. She's the expert on Shambhala to share what energies she saw happening when we integrated that template into the earth, or at least what the earth was offering up to us.
Okay, for me, it was when I stepped into Shambhala. I was really being shown Shambhala was a mirror reflection of possibilities to us. It seems like an old wisdom is really awakening, and we're feeling it. We're hearing the narrative flipping as the awareness of a massive personal shift is taking place within us. And what that meant to me is that the trickle of this ancient lens of wisdom is releasing more and more of its essence. And many people are really beginning to feel this new awareness within sight of themselves. But it's really time to go beyond that. We can't, like, there's no stopping us anymore. We have to go beyond the beyond. And it's time to go within the creating this essence upon this earth plane. So my question would be, could it be, and this is just a question to contemplate on, to go beyond the limited box, could it be possible that a new civilization is being birthed by the massive expansion of human consciousness?
Cool. And I think, the question we then had was, if this is what's happening, then we can understand why the iron particle was withheld from us. And then we had questions like, well, what if the fall of civilizations that we had kind of got familiar with, like Atlantis and whatever else civilizations have been that we don't have names for yet, but we know existed, were they all also failing because of this iron particle? So we actually then decided, well, where is this iron particle? Where do we get it from? Is it already within the earth? Is it trapped? And that kind of led us up into the cosmic realms, which, most of Earth is developed out of cosmic stardust and particles. And that's where the primordial soup kind of brought us to, with all the particles that had come into Earth and became part of the soup. So it was like, well, where do we get this iron particle from? And that kind of led us to the new constellation that Alicia had discovered.
Yeah, so when we were in there, what I was hearing is that word Ophiuchus. So it was very interesting on how we were trying to pinpoint what Ophiuchus had to do. And Ophiuchus was one of those planets or constellations, in regards to, if it was part of the zodiac, it would be between that Sagittarius and Scorpio, which is that November 29th to December 17th. And how interesting it was is that that's basically when everyone was starting to feel anemic, very tired. It was right before Christmas that we were going through this. So what was missing was that iron particle from Ophiuchus that we had to bring down in order to place it in that kind of like that creation process.
And this kind of was the particle that we then brought down using the Shambhala templates to grid it into the earth. So we noticed that once we gridded that energy in, and then we stepped into that timeline, and whenever we bring new templates into the planet, whenever we're doing this planetary work, we always make sure that there's a timeline for those who don't want to step onto it and a timeline for those that do. We then take that step and we step onto that new timeline, which actually reminds me, Ava, you saw stepping stones last time. What if these timelines that we're creating for each of these changes are those stepping stones? That would be quite interesting.
Yeah, I was really contemplating on that after we've gotten off, and there was a new version of stepping stones that are coming up. So it is the evolution, and it's as we take the evolution, we have to be in this stepping stone, and to not master it, but to evolve in it enough so that we go into the next stepping stone. And I believe that it is the evolutionary stepping stones that are unfolding for us. So I keep going in there. I'm not, because it's something that it's going to be a part of me. So I am contemplating more and more of it. I'm seeing it merge, whether it's one city at a time that's emerging with those stepping stones, and then we evolve it in it, and then we go into the next one, and then the next one. And yeah, I totally agree with you there, Trudy.
Yeah, that would fit really well, because obviously we have to leave the old timeline without the iron there. We have to create a new timeline with the iron in. We then stepped onto that, and we then integrated the iron. We kind of rolled it back from the primordial soup right through our human incarnations and our evolution right through to the present. But that means there's still an old stepping stone behind us, which is the version without. And there's obviously one before that and one before that. And we're leaving these timelines there so each person can move forward and step onto the newest one. And of course, if anybody's stuck, then, you know, you're welcome to contact us and we'll help you step onto those stones with us and accelerate that process rather than having to do it on your own. But it was interesting afterwards, so just to give you, because we're our own guinea pigs, aren't we? We do this to ourselves before we offer it to others. And I noticed that after the session when we hung up, it was quite profound to realize the impact of iron, which I'll talk about in a minute. But physically, what I noticed was I felt a lot taller afterwards. I felt lighter and taller. And I remember standing at the kitchen counter thinking, I feel like a giant. That's weird. And that's just from us integrating the iron. What about you guys? What did you sense?
Go ahead, Mom.
Okay. The same thing. It all just connects really is because we're doing this mass narrative shift, right? And there is like this thunder bolt of energy coming down through us. And it's really us putting it into our spine and making ourselves taller and breathing into that and really expanding ourselves so that we can now integrate and our bodies are expanding so that we could receive these new wave frequencies, you know, all the new templates. There's massive new templates waiting for us to integrate it into our body, but we have to really upgrade our own body and our own spine and expand it, and in order to receive it.
Yeah, but did you notice a physical shift as well after that session that we did? Like what benefits did you feel physically?
I felt more wide awake. I just felt more alive. There's more aliveness flowing down. There's more life force that is flowing down.
Cool. And Alicia?
Yes, definitely. Before, like I said, before this template, we were all feeling, well, I was feeling extremely exhausted. I immediately noticed that my energy was coming back to me slowly. And I did feel like a little bit more of that electricity and those electrical currents come into place. And sometimes I know this in the physical realm because my lights start to flicker more. And and I know when I'm getting that electrical. So, you know, I go to the bathroom, turn on the lights, sit down, and all of a sudden the lights turn off. You know what I mean? So where I walk into that room and I know that I'm gaining more of my electrical, or I'm communicating more with my electrical field again. Yeah.
And that kind of leads us into the other part. So obviously iron is at the center of the earth, so it impacts the core. Iron is magnetic, so it's obviously creating magnetic fields. Iron is in the soil, and in one part of Africa, they use it to notice the pole flips because they can go down through the layers, and based on the charge that they discover in the iron in the soil, they can then tell which way the pole was flipping at that particular time in the Earth's evolution. So iron is quite a big part of our planet, but we also worked out is a big part of our human body, which kind of leads into the bones. But before we do, I wanted us to talk a bit more about the magneticness, the change in the magnetic atmosphere of the Earth. Is perhaps that the best way to describe it?
Did you want me? I didn't know what you were on.
When you were talking about the electromagnetic sands and the charges and.
Okay, all right then. So then we were tuning in further, and what I was receiving was all about how on Earth you have the sand dust, that when it creates these sandstorms, they create these huge electrical magnetic fields or electrical fields that holds creates that magnetism. But then I was wondering that what if the stardust in our body was creating these electrical fields, and that we were creating this more of that magnetism field within us? So whatever's going on with Mother Gaia is going on within ourselves as well. So that was that connection there.
And I think, you know, when we get back to the bones and how the iron is so important to our bones, then it kind of all fits the bigger picture. But what we want you to understand from understanding this iron template is there is a new timeline with the iron integrated in an organic way rather than an artificially implanted way. And if you get a call to step onto that timeline, then it's about integrating that iron into your body. And yeah, tell us if you've noticed when you do that integration, if you notice then how you feel a little bit more alert, a bit more energy, a little bit more drive in what you're doing, or just for me also, I kind of felt really grounded. Like I didn't feel like the Earth was pushing me away anymore, especially as a starseed. I didn't feel like the Earth was pushing me away. I felt like now I could stand on the surface and not have to fight to ground myself. I could just be. So that was quite important, a change for me as well. So let's talk about our soul lesson that came off the back of this. So the main soul lesson this month, or this week, I always say this month, but I mean this week, is that we have to now work out how to bring that iron into our body. So our readings were purification, I think Ava got regeneration, and Alicia was working with the crystalline structures. And it all went back to bones. So for me, I saw the purification, which we can do that now. Actually, it was a mudra, which takes the ring finger and your thumb, and you put it just at the base of your ring finger. And then it gets hard then, because you've got to kind of put those fingers down. So that's my 1, 2, the third finger. And if you held that now and just put that onto your lap while we're talking, it's a purification mode. So we can use that to talk about purifying our blood and our bones and our bodies, and talk about the cleansing aspect. So the purification was related to the spinal column, which we know is the main center of light between heaven and earth. So we know that's a lot where the Kundalini energies go down and where our light column comes in. And iron is really important in the formation of bones. Our bones are the thing that is on earth the longest. We find them, historically, that's what we use to find out what pre-age man was doing, what animals were doing. All of these bones are really permanently settled on earth. And we have to ask the question, well, how out of everything, out of all of our beings, is it our bones that are left behind? And then that kind of led us into the question of, well, if our bones are left behind, and we know that there's DNA and genetics in the bones that can tell them exactly where I was living, what I was doing, how I was eating, which region I was from, then is there not still a cord? Like, we do a lot of soul retrievals. We're all taught how to do shamanic soul retrievals, but what about our genetics and our DNA back to those bones? And Alicia then found that she had a client that was getting cursed through her bones.
Yeah, and even so, even after that, it was very interesting how many imprints were inside the bones, as well as what essences or what ingredients were surrounding the bones, inside the bones. So when I was looking at the bones on what to fill it with, in regards to that, I was seeing the bones as like that honeycomb structure. And Eva sent a picture of the close-up of the bones, and it looked like as if it had holes in it. So it was very interesting that we were already starting to put kind of like these beautiful essences or ingredients into kind of create that genetic makeup of your human divinity inside the bones. That's where it's all held in, and that's your bone structure. So if your crystalline bone structure is all crystalline and you're filling in those gaps and those spaces with those essences, it's just creating more of a vibrating or crystalline structure within the bones, if I make sense.
Yeah, I think, we talk about our bodies becoming more crystalline as we evolve, and that is a very vague term. We don't necessarily know what that's going to become because it's new. However, there is this kind of more light in the bones, kind of is probably the easiest way to describe it, having more light in your bones. And it's then kind of leads you into flexibility and movement, and yeah, so that's the kind of way I see our crystalline self kind of evolving. It's not so stiff, it's not so armored, it's much more fluid. But also, if we've still got ties going back to our old bones, and this is where the cartouche came in a couple of weeks ago again, and we didn't understand what that was, but the Egyptians understood that there was a tie between the soul and the body. And they would write on a cartouche, a kind of a plaque on the tomb to help the body find, or to help the soul, if it went traveling during death, to come back and find its body for the afterlife. Well, I didn't pay much attention to that, but the one thing the Egyptians did really well was they understood the afterlife. They spent years writing books and papers on like what their whole story would be in the afterlife. They would invest money in having people write their afterlife prescriptions and ingredients to get them through that process. And for us to then realize that that was important, and we don't pay so much importance to that these days. We worry about where our soul has been. We do soul retrievals, but there is that physical link. And given the genetic issues of having somebody carving on your bones or using your bones in rituals, which you look at a lot of witchcraft, there are bones involved. You only have to look at where bones even exist. And Ava brought up a really good point. She kind of said, what about fossils? And you saw structures, didn't you?
I did. I saw fossils and structures because when we were in our journey, you said, let's just stand and call in our bones. And that's when it came to me that, well, our bones, they could be dispersed anywhere, right? Like recently, my nephew showed me some underneath tunnels in France, and they were structured with bones, like human bones. And where else do we use our human bones? You see human bones everywhere, and fossils holding up huge structures. I go, how do we call that back in without destroying the structure in itself, right? And it was really just calling in the essence of it. And I don't know where I was going with this, but yeah, it was just calling in the essence of it, or through our past lives, there are our heads in memory of a burial ground, right? So like we are scattered everywhere. So it was just about calling in the essence, the DNA, the remembrance, the memories of those bones back into us. And then that's where the fossil showed up too, like, because they were ancient, because if there were water, the water went through them, and then they created these fossils. So we're everywhere.
Yeah, and I think then we even worked out, when you got cremation, but even then bones don't disappear, they just become dust. And then we thought about the calcium, and we said, well, if dust then goes through the waterways and creates stalactites and stalagmites, then we become crystals. And it's like our heads were spinning at this point, the possibility of what happens to our bones and how we've kind of like not paid them any attention. It's kind of like our bones don't bother us until we have a break or an ache or a bad back. And then we don't think of them. And then here they are as being quite a major structural part of our human evolution. So I'm sure this story is going to unfold as we learn more, but I'm hoping that this might sort of spark some ideas of what you might need to do for your bones, what healing you might need to consider. But it's also about protecting that cartouche, that it's like, imagine there's a cord from you now back to all the bones that you've ever been, that kind of map out your genetic history, if you believe in reincarnation, that you've got this kind of link back to all the various parts of your body that you've left as you've gone through all the evolutions of your lifetime here on the planet. And it's about protecting those so that other people can't infiltrate them and go back and use that for voodoo to stop you advancing now. And that kind of leads us into another one of these phases of our spiritual liberation, because we've been getting lots of kind of insights about how we can become more spiritually liberated, so we can step into our power, that we can use our 5D skills without being fearful of being punished or enslaved for them. And this is something we were saying earlier, is like our spiritual liberation workshop that we arrange is just growing and growing and growing. It's like now we've got this born template that we need to consider to help cleanse that off. So it's like just so many aspects, but the great thing is it's becoming available. We couldn't see this stuff before, and now our mind is being blown by the kind of, it's almost like this huge re-cleanse going right back to the evolution of when we started life on Earth, being kind of recalibrated right through to now, so that we can now take off all those shackles and those blocks on our human body's ability to evolve, so we can actually step more into the light body that we're meant to have. So I think that was most of the bone stuff. So we said, what challenges are we going to have? Well, I think the challenge is going to be finding out where all your bones are. How about you, Ava? What did you have to add as a challenge?
So, and because everything, I said courage and wisdom and bravery, because there's so many things that are shaking up our old patterns and our physical bone structures. So it's time to start weaving in the new I don't want to say the new restructured chakra type things into our bodies and into our spines, and really stitching in the electrical cords where we need it inside of our bodies.
Yeah, because as well as cleansing the bones, then we've got that iron to absorb back into the new bones and the cleansed and purified. Yeah, cool. And how about you, Alicia?
The structures, or the challenges that I would see, is that the architecture held within the physical body, if it's being able to support this new, not these new templates, or these new templates for us. That's what I can see.
Yeah, so we have to do some proactive work then to keep that evolution going. And what do you think our strengths are then? So I think one strength obviously is iron represents strength. Did you know that they use iron nails and iron horseshoes for protection, and they use iron for like our bridges, and iron holds up our buildings? So I think that iron and tapping into that iron energy is really our strength, as far as I'm concerned. It's going to be difficult for us to comprehend yet, but even if you just get a little bit kind of more turned on to what your bones are needing, and iron in your life, your food, but also just the energetic of iron, not just the physical air, but just imagine sitting in that magnetic field with these iron particles coming around you, then that's going to start your bones kind of switching on and upgrading, I think. And you, Ava? So
the strength I would say is Mother Gaia is going deeper and deeper and deeper into Mother Gaia, and really connecting the cord and receiving the nutrients, the elements, whatever she has to offer us, and really sitting there and taking that in.
Yeah, so that kind of just working with the natural cycles of Earth, I guess, isn't it? That Shambhala template's there now. So now we've got to, it's like whenever you put a new Shambhala template on the planet for us, we have to then introduce ourselves to it and learn how to work with it and create a handbook on how to use it. So I guess that's the kind of wisdom. Yeah, cool. Okay. And Alicia?
Yeah, I'm not too sure what you had. I think both of you have really answered what I was going to say, that becoming that embodiment, grounding more into it, and just walking as one with it.
I thought you also had some with the crystalline architectures that you've been seeing, some of those coming in that from the higher cosmic realm that we can download as well.
Yeah, but I think I talked about that a little bit with the bones when it was coming into the bones. That's what usually was aligned with the iron templates right now for this week. I do feel like that more of that energy coming into the bones and bringing that iron template right into the bones and those frequency of the architecture.
Cool. Cool. So you've got heaven, we've got earth, and we've got us, and we've got plenty of tools and energies available for us to tune into. And I guess, you know, each of us is different. We'll all see it with different eyes. We might have different words for it, but I'm hoping that sharing what we've shared gives you an idea what to look for. So in the comments, I've got Jenny, who, not our Jenny, we've got another Jenny on YouTube, who is interestingly saying that she's been having a sore back now for a week. So that's interesting to see. And also her husband has been having the same issue. I have read and heard this is an ascension symptom. Yeah. So that kind of would fit what we're seeing as well. But not only is it an ascension symptom now, but we've actually seen a new iron grid being anchored in. So that will mean you've got something now to work with to actually remove that ascension symptom. Because remember, ascension symptoms are the lack of, or the dis-ease of integration. And if you work with the integration instead, then that pain isn't as prolonged or as painful, but you have to be quite proactive and really work on how to make it work for you as an individual experience. And our Jenny, who's saying, oh, I'm your Jenny, is saying, whoa, my head is spinning now too. So yeah, it's a lot, our head's still spinning. It's a lot for us to absorb. I think we've covered everything, have we, ladies?
Yes. Yep.
So I'm going to just leave you with the thought then of, or the question I'm going to leave you with is, how can you proactively integrate the iron templates in your physical body? Like just spending 5 minutes a week, maybe imagining connecting to the iron in the earth and then seeing it, breathing it into your body, maybe using this mudra, which seems to be relevant right now, is this thumb on the ring finger and then holding it on your lap. And yeah, let us know. Please keep in touch and keep us updated, because the only way we're going to know if things are shifting is if we all share what we're experiencing and how it's working out for us and what we've learned from the process so others can learn too. So I'll just hand over to Ava.
Oh, here I was just enjoying your talk here.
Yeah, no, we're at the end now, unfortunately. That's half an hour gone, whoosh.
I know. So thank you everyone for sharing your time with us. If there's anything you would enjoy us to speak about, please put it in the chat or put it below in the YouTube channel. And remember, those who signed up on the Zoom link will remain with us for a quick meet and greet. And there's several ways that you can stay connected with us on Facebook page. And we have a Facebook community, Higher Consciousness, Living, Stepping Boldly into the Unknown. We have our YouTube channels, our weekly Ascension Energy Forecasts Mondays, and our Stardust Being Human series. And we're going to put all the links below so that you know how to connect with us.
Excellent. All right, we did quite well. We managed to get to 8:30 and kept it really on time. There's so much we can say, and it's like, which bits do we share? It's the juicy bits. So yeah, if you guys got any questions, then get in touch with us through our group and we can answer any questions there as well. But for now, I'm afraid we say goodbye to our YouTube crowd, and we're going to then spend some time with the Zoom so we can talk further about these issues. So bye.